Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
What is it about a content or idea that comes from you directly, which, of course, we would have hoped it would come from the Holy Spirit, through the Word, through you, through your thoughts? But what is it about the difference between an original thought and something that comes from a commentary? Why can that be picked up on? Because it can be. And it's not, obviously, there's lots of times, right, where it makes total sense to pull from commentaries. But what you're saying doesn't surprise me. Like that seems about right, you know? If someone is kind of, you know, they feel like they're coming up with some original content, or they feel like the Holy Spirit is guiding them in a certain way from the text, and they're going to kind of trust in that, and they're excited about that. And there's a certain level of, what is it? Originality, authenticity, passion that comes from that, where if you start to borrow, that can be picked up on. It feels different. How do people, what is that? How do people pick up on that?
Man, I don't think there's any substitute for personal experience of, you know, when you witnessed an incredible ball game, right? An event, you can describe it in many different ways with a lot of passion. But if you watched it or heard from someone else of their story, you there's a lot less detail, and there's not the same passion because you didn't experience it. Like, it's effortless for them to share it because it's so real. You know, I mean, I can talk to you about the Clemson catch and my boy jumping in my arms, and we both started crying. We had no idea why we were crying. It's a football game. It's like, I don't get a ring, I don't get money, but we were in tears.
That's so great.
I never would have thought, as a big of a fan as I am, that I would have wept in that moment. But even just talking right now, right?
Yeah.
I'm letting you in on, like, I experienced this. Well, if you just read the newspaper of a sports report of that catch, you can tell a difference in someone, even if they're trying to manufacture passion. All they're giving you is the facts. They're not letting you know how it feels. But I'm going more of how I felt. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we won. Then there was 1 second left, and it was, you know, Deshaun Watson, number 4, to Hunter Renfrow, number 13. You know, yeah, like, you know, I can give you the facts. But I go into more of the feeling. And I think when you read a commentary or use a commentary in a sermon, rather than it being something that is originated through your study and it's original to you, you run the risk of reading the paper rather than just telling the feeling, like explaining, like, with passion, something that you discovered or learned and how it impacted you, right? And so, like, I train 12 of our men at our church, a different 12 every year, in how to preach. We're finishing up. We're limping across the finish line because of COVID. It's been the longest year of our pastoral leadership collective, but we call it our PLC. But It's wrapping up now. We've got one more session in November. And I can tell when these young guys are reading a commentary from their manuscript. Because it's really good. And
that's funny.
Man, it's good. And I mean, nothing against their brilliance, right? But it's amazing, and it flows so cleanly. It's not choppy. But there's little to no emotion behind it. And then you get a guy up there who, through tears and a lot of clumsy words, a lot of ums, he explains something that he learned through that text and how it's encouraged him and his family and his wife, how it's convicted him. The theological depth isn't like the guy who read the commentary. But that you get pulled in, and you get to look at that text in a beautiful way when someone is sharing firsthand experience of how this has affected them. You know, there's a greater sensitivity in that moment that he's and vulnerability. It's like if you